Yo, what is going on, guys? Serious here. This video is just going to be me basically rambling on for a few minutes about some things about the crashing situation in Black Ops 3. It's kind of like a bonus video from my last one. Bunch of stuff that I wanted to talk about that I didn't really feel like it needed to be in that patch video. So this is unscripted as well, which means there's probably going to be a lot of rambling. So, if you're one of those people that likes to like throw on something in the background while you play a game or something, that's probably what this is best for. The gameplay in the background is just some ZBR, nothing too interesting, just a game we played. So anyway, the things I really want to talk about right now are kind of this entire crashing situation, kind of the history of it, and at least in terms of Black Ops 3, and what we've been doing in the meantime to fight back, and kind of where we are in this situation. So, for anyone who's not aware, this crashing thing really started being a problem a couple years ago. A couple people started digging up some of the old crashes from other games and exploring a specific function in Black Ops 3 related to demonware. For anyone who's not aware what demonware is, it's basically the servers for Call of Duty. It's what they use for their anti-cheat. It's what they use for all their networking, their matchmaking servers, etc. So obviously, demonware is where an attacker is going to look at first if they're trying to attack your network in Call of Duty. So they found this function, they started messing with it, and eventually they started also messing with the other components of the networking. So things like lobby messages, which lobby messages are just where you it's what the game uses to like connect you with other players and do certain things inside the lobby, like tell your client like when somebody's rank changes, or like when they change their calling card, or anything like that. They change their character. And the lobby messages also are used for like joining. It's used for ping. It's used for voice packets, and so that's really the main parts people look at. There's also these other sections like the game state, but you have to control the server to mess with the game state, so that's typically not messed with very much. There's other things like the connectionless commands, or what they call out-of-band commands, where they send basically like certain strings to your client. For anyone who's not aware, a string is like text. Basically, they just send some text to your client, and the game will like read it and do something based off of what that command says. And there's some exploits in there. Basically, the game doesn't check that you're who you say you are, and so you can do some things that you shouldn't be able to do. But basically, this all comes down to a bunch of bugs in the programming, and people have been exploiting it. And this started with, I'm not going to name any names because obviously, I'm not really looking to give reputation to these people, because that's really all they're after. For anyone who's not aware, this whole situation can be boiled down to people who are, I'm not even going to insult them, I'm just going to say what it is. These are people who don't really have a lot in their lives. And that's not an insult, it's just, it is what it is. They don't really seem like they have a lot of people that they talk to. They don't really do anything in their lives. They kind of just hang around Call of Duty. They're more of an online person. And these people, they are trying to find some way to have notoriety in the community, whether it's good or bad. They don't care what it is. They just want to be known in the community. So what they do is, instead of fixing problems, instead of going to the developers or helping the community, their goal is that it's much easier to piss off a bunch of YouTubers and make them make videos about you, and they get their notoriety that way, rather than do the kind of thing that I'm doing, where you're going around fixing problems, because the community is going to respond to anger and feeling helpless, not being able to stream, not being able to record videos, etc. They're going to respond to that much more than they're going to respond to someone telling them that there's a possibility that that could happen. A great example of this is me reporting remote code execution vulnerabilities to Activision. I reported one of many vulnerabilities that I know about. I was just testing the waters to see what would happen, and I reported a zero-click remote code execution vulnerability to Activision. This was 4 months ago. For anyone who's not aware what that means, it basically means that an attacker with the right setup and the right information can run arbitrary code on your machine just because you're on Black Ops 3. And it's a huge problem. They can do this on the dedicated servers too. The dedicated servers are just as vulnerable. They can run code on the dedicated servers, so they could change your stats without you doing anything. They could install malware on your machine. They can install malware on the dedicated servers, which they are literally doing on Black Ops 2 right now, which people don't pay attention to, but, you know, that's besides the point. The Black Ops 3 servers have already been modified. If you guys have not paid attention, if you go in and try to use the endgame exploit in a MXT menu, you're going to notice that it says you tried to end the game. It won't do it. This is only on certain servers, like US servers, I think, but point is, that was not done by Treyarch. That was done by a modder who's sick and tired of people ending the game. That modder, who I'm not going to name as well because I don't want to get them in trouble, also did some other things along the lines of stopping a lot of the exploits against the servers. Now, he didn't really go too far into it. I'm not sure what his limitations are as far as what he can and can't do on the servers. I assume he has full access because he's, you know, writing, you know, native code to the servers. So I'm assuming he can do all this, but he probably just doesn't care. But that's a modder that's done that. That's not Treyarch. They don't care. There's people literally changing the COD TV images on Black Ops 2 right now. If you go on Black Ops 2 on your Xbox 360, your PC, or your PS3, I don't know if the other consoles are affected. If you go on Black Ops 2, if you go to COD TV, you're gonna see a bunch of shit. You're gonna see like porn. You're gonna see our Discord server up there. You're gonna see another Discord server. You're gonna see like random shit. It's hacked as shit. Activision does not care. Treyarch does not care. Infinity Ward does not care. These problems exist on Infinity Ward games, Black Ops 3, and this remote code execution vulnerability that I reported to Activision, it exists on Cold War, which is their latest title for Treyarch. For anyone who's not aware, Treyarch, Infinity Ward, and there's a couple other studios involved now. They basically have their own branches of the engine. And so if you attack their latest game, that's typically where they care about the vulnerability. They don't even care about Cold War. So they basically, what I'm trying to say here is we're on our own. For the people who are crying out for, you know, Treyarch or Activision to do something about this, look, I'm not saying it's impossible, but we've been having this issue for years. There's games like Black Ops 2 that are unplayable. By the way, if you guys are not aware, do not play Black Ops 2. RCE is everywhere, which again is that remote code execution thing where they can run code on your machine without you doing anything. It's everywhere. There's nothing you can do about it. So do not play Black Ops 2. Do not play Modern Warfare 3 on PC. Actually, on anything. Black Ops 2, Modern Warfare 3, Modern Warfare 2, especially Black Ops 1. Any of those games, do not play them on PC and don't play them on console because they are compromised. Your information, your security, they can install malware. They do install malware. They can delete files off your system. They can do all sorts of stuff. Do not play those games. Black Ops 3 is getting to that point. And what I'm trying to do with my patch is stop that. I'm trying to stop that in its tracks. And there are some modders who have turned to the good side, or at least I believe they did when they were helping me. Maybe they're not anymore. I don't know. It's very hard to tell with some of these people. But my goal as a developer is to stop that in its tracks and keep Black Ops 3 playable for mod tools. I don't really care about the public games anymore because I'm sorry, there are bigger problems there, like aimbot, ESP, that kind of stuff. That's not going anywhere, and there's nothing we can do about that. So that's not going anywhere. I'm never going to go after that. My goal is for things like custom zombies or for custom mod tools, dedicated servers, for example. That kind of stuff I am very interested in. And the reason for that, I'm going to be flat out honest with you guys. So the first reason was obviously because I really got sick and tired of people getting bullied off the game. I hate seeing streamers, you know, have to stop what they're doing and just quit. I hate seeing them, you know, having a good time and just have it completely ruined by someone just only thinking about themselves and wanting notoriety. It really bothers me. So that's the first reason. But the second reason, the new patch, I'm going to be honest with you guys, I did not make it for that reason. The new patch I made for my game mode, because what happened with the original patch is I was constantly looking around to see if, you know, people were patched up, because, you know, I wanted to see people being able to use the work that I put out. And what happened was people were not using the tool, and when I asked them why not, Either people didn't know about it, or if they did know about it, they just said, I don't really care. I'm not worried about getting crashed. And then, they get crashed on stream and complain about it. But, or there were people saying they don't want to run it because it's malware, because some modders started spreading rumors that the patch was malware. So everyone's scared of it, which is ridiculous. I don't know why you guys would ever trust the hackers over the people that are trying to stop the hackers. But, I mean, y'all do you. But yeah, people spread that around, and when people stop using my tool, I stop caring. I'm like, you know what? I am fixing this for myself and my friends, and anybody else can get the fuck over it because they're not. If nobody's using the tools, then so be it. That's their problem. So I started working on it for ZBR, and I have been extensively working on security for ZBR. In fact, ZBR is in an isolated networking context, which means basically that if you're playing Zombie Blood Rush, people from the regular game cannot send you networking traffic. They can't communicate with you. So I'm not going to go into details about that because obviously it's security and it's a weak implementation right now. People can get around it. I know. I don't care because it's, again, things take time to develop. It takes time to get these things where they need to be. So I'm not really worried about it. But the point is, I was working on everything for Zombie Blood Rush, and I saw that tweet from Lex about the patch not, or him getting or being scared of MXT or whatever, and I decided you know what, now's the time. I went ahead and took the ZBR DLL and literally just changed it and threw an obfuscator at it, and that's the patch. It's literally the ZBR DLL. So y'all have all the protections that ZBR has, and lo and behold, one, people still don't use the patch, which is crazy to me because it's like, okay, you're constantly complaining that the game is unplayable, yet you're offered a solution, or what is becoming a solution, because a lot of people say they can still crash through, which is fine. I accept that. I understand people can crash through, but we're working to get to the state where that's not possible anymore. And the only way we do that is by the community running the patch. If you guys are not aware, if you run the patch, your game, instead of exiting when it crashes, it freezes. And those are two very different things. When it freezes, it logs to the Black Ops 3 root directory, and if you send me that log, I can actually work through what the attacker sent to you, and I can kind of get an idea of what they did to crash you. So that will help me fix more crashes, and it helps the entire community because that's another exploit method taken out. So anyway, I see people aren't using the patch, and I'm just kind of wondering, what's going on. Then Lex makes his video about the situation, and he says it's malware or malicious. I don't think he really meant that it's malware. I think what he meant is that when he downloads it, he gets the malicious software warning on Windows. And as a YouTuber, especially him, I feel bad for him because he has been hacked many times. I know he's terrified of people constantly trying to take advantage of him. And what he probably saw when he downloaded my tweet was, when he downloaded my patch was, this guy comes out of nowhere tweeting me an exe file with no source saying it's a patch for the crashes, and he's just trying to steal my information, or he's just trying to get into my account. I understand. It makes sense to be not paranoid, I can't think of the word, suspicious of those type of things. That's actually, I would rather people be suspicious because it shows that they have a mind for information security. You always want to be suspicious of what you download, but there are ways that you can get around that by looking into the developer and seeing if they have any motivation to attack you, right? Or if they have something to lose. For example, for me, I've been developing COD mods for like, I don't know, 9, 10 years? No. Yeah, something like that. And if I started putting malware in my tools, or I ever put malware in my tools, that's it. My reputation's done. All the stuff that I've worked on from then to now, nobody would ever use it again, which obviously if I'm making projects, I want people to use my work. So I would never put any kind of malicious stuff in my tools. But you have to look in the developer's history, you have to look at their reputation, you have to look at these type of things and determine whether you trust them or not. For someone like me, I don't care who they are, I don't trust them, which is why I run things in a VM and why I almost never run tools from people. And that's because I'm a software developer and I understand these type of things. But it's just it's a hard situation. It's something you have to make. But what I don't agree with is calling someone's tool malware when you have no idea. Like, that's very damaging to my reputation. People who watch that video are not going to think that I make malware, and that's completely unfair. I've never done anything to deserve that. All I've done is try to help people. So the fact that, Lex, which I'm sure he wasn't intending to do that, but the point is, you got to think about what you say before you say it, and you got to be real careful when you say that kind of thing, because it can really mess up somebody's reputation. So hopefully the video that I posted will kind of make him apologize, or not even, I don't even care about an apology. I just want him to correct that part, because calling it malicious is really bad. If he doesn't, whatever, I'm sure things will work out over time. But point is, I saw that, I really didn't like that, so I decided to go ahead and make that video. But as far as, fighting against this and where we are right now as a community, really the only way we're going to fight this is by everyone who is using the patch sending me crash logs, working with me. If you're getting targeted, contact me, because a lot of the time these people who are using these tools, they don't expect you to have something at your disposal to catch them, if that makes sense. The methods they're using are very easy to reverse most of the time, which means that these people don't want to crash someone who can reverse it. That's why they don't attack me a lot of the time, because they call it spoon feeding. They think they're going to give me the method, and they don't want to do that, so they don't crash me. But they'll crash people who they don't think have that capability. So that goes two ways, right? One, if you're running the patch, you can catch them, and two, if you're running the patch, they're going to see that patch by Sirius in the top right, which I did that on purpose. They're going to see that patch, they know it logs everything, and they're not going to crash you purely because they don't want to give the crash log to you. They don't want to give that information over because it makes it harder for them to attack other people. So again, you guys gotta think about this stuff, and when you're streaming or you're recording videos or you're playing the game, if you're not patched up, I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you. If you get crashed, it's really your fault. I mean, I guess I shouldn't say that, because it'd be like saying, the victim of assault, right? It's their fault for whatever. It's not. It's really the attacker's fault. But there were steps that you could have taken to prevent this from happening, and if you didn't take them, then it's really hard to feel bad for you. But on that note, for anyone who is having trouble with the patch, just feel free to come to me, because I actively work on this stuff, and I have a vested interest in this. For you guys who have not noticed, I'm like repping ZBR everywhere, and the reason I'm doing that is because I feel like it's very it's one of those game modes that people don't really know about, so they haven't really tried it out, and I just want the visibility to get out there because I put in a lot of work into this game mode. And one of the things that I have to do for this game mode to be successful is make sure that I fix all this crashing stuff. It's a multiplayer game. How could I ship a multiplayer game if I don't have all this stuff fixed? So I have a vested interest in fixing this, and you guys have a vested interest in helping me fix it, because then you can play your custom zombies and do whatever you want on Black Ops 3, and everybody benefits from it. So for those of you who are kind of on the edge and not really wanting to use the patch, well, that's why you should use it. Now, for those of you who are more interested in kind of a little bit more about how the crashes really work, there's some information that I think y'all might find interesting. So, first of all, the way all the crashes start is they have to get you something called your net address. Now, this is not like your IP per se. This is more like a special IP that demonware has given you, where they will route any traffic sent to that IP on a certain port to you. And the reason they do that is because your router is not going to typically let people just send packets to you unless you have port forwarding set up. And if you did that, then you're really messing up. Don't port forward on these games. But that routing system, that they basically give you an IP address when you sign in, if that makes any sense. So that IP address that is specific to your account, while you're playing, they need to get that in order to send you any kind of traffic. Now, that's not entirely true. That's not the only way they can send information to you. There is another way to do it, because the Steam API actually has built-in networking that works off of XUID, so they can actually send you messages through Steam too. So there's a little bit of stuff related to that. It's very complicated. There's a lot that goes into this, and I can't really talk about all the technical details, but just know that for the most part, they need your net address for almost all of these exploits. Now, in order to get that net address, typically what they have to do is go through demonware, because demonware is going to tell them, what that address is for your XUID. But they don't actually allow you to directly query demonware for it. Instead, you have to ask that person through this demonware system. You have to say, like, demonware instant send message, and you have to ask them for an info request. And that info request is going to get processed on your game, and then your game is going to send them back the net address for your current demonware session. And you need to, or basically what the patch is going to do is allow you to say, well, hang on, you're not friends with me. I'm not giving you my net address. If you're not friends with me, you don't get my net address. And that's typically like the first barrier to stop them. Now, the thing is, whenever they're in a lobby with you, that net address is going to be available regardless. There's nothing you can do about it. You're going to have that net address sent to every person in the lobby. So from that point forward, you're kind of on your own, which is why I say to avoid multiplayer. But that net address is what they need to send you, like, almost all these attacks. There's out-of-band attacks, there's lobby message attacks. Those are the main ones. Now, the thing is, there's a lot of bugs in every single one of these lobby state. There's not a single packet that I found that doesn't have vulnerability. So that's something to consider. Which, when you're dealing with that number of vulnerabilities, it's very hard to get them all. Which is why I'm still constantly updating the patch. I still constantly, there's people finding crash throughs, whatever. I'm constantly working on this stuff. But the thing is, it all boils down to them having your net address or being able to send you information. And if they can't send it to you because they don't know where to send it, that's the best protection, like, out of everything. They can't send you a crash I don't know about if they can't connect to you, if that makes sense. So that's kind of why I say that for these people who are like big YouTubers and stuff like that, who would get attacked by the people who can crash through, because there's a few people in the community with a lot more crashes than even I know about. For those people who are going to get attacked, really the only way you're going to stay safe is keeping your Steam ID protected. If you don't keep your Steam ID protected, they're going to be able to get your net address, and by that point, they've got your IP, so they can hit you offline. They can crash you through stuff, whatever. You just got to keep your Steam ID safe. Something else very important to know. If your friend is in your lobby with you and their Steam ID gets leaked, well, as an attacker, an attacker can literally just ping your friend through demonware, and they'll get your IP address too. So if your friend is not patched up, then you're also vulnerable. That's why it's really the best case for just everybody to patch up and just protect your Steam IDs. That's why ZBR is a lot harder to attack as well. People can still do it, but it's a lot harder because our Steam IDs are never visible on the screen. In fact, I disabled the Steam profile system, so like you can't even accidentally show it. We all, I mean, there's the isolated networking thing, and then there's a lot of other stuff like that. So that's why ZBR works the way it does, and that's why it's a little stronger in the patch. But I can't do that for the patch, obviously. So that's really where you're at with how those crashes work. And there's a lot of nuances as well. Like certain crashes only work in certain conditions. Some of them aren't even crashes; they're just like errors in the lobby. Some of them are UI related. Some of them are just random stuff. Some of them are stats related. Some of them are like server related. Some of them let them write stuff to your game, which I already fixed those ones. Some of them are remote code execution vulnerabilities, which I fixed too. There's just all sorts of stuff, and it's very important for you guys to just realize that when you're playing the game without the patch, you're exposing yourself to that stuff. And for a sophisticated attacker, they can absolutely pull off the more complicated stuff and get code running on your machine. So it's really important that you're careful about what you do, and ultimately the best bet is to just, again, keep your Steam ID safe. I don't know how many times I can say it. That's really the only way. But the last thing I wanted to talk about was actually something a little bit recent, and I can't really show a lot about it because I've got friends who have been feeding me information who I don't really want to expose or cause problems for them. But just a funny little bit of drama right now. For people who don't care, this is probably the end of the video for you. But